Hey, Wellness fam. It's Dr. Latoya Wells. I'm here with you for another episode of Wellness Wednesday. Thank you all so much for joining me tonight for another episode. I am Dr. Latoya Wells, Doctor of Nursing Practice, owner of Wells Legacy Health and Wellness. We are a full service primary care practice located in Altamont Springs, Florida, servicing Central Florida and surrounding areas. We are accepting new patients. We are open for convenient hours and days. We're excited to be here. And I'm just grateful for each and every one of you. For those who constantly refer your friends and your family to us, those who are my patients and clients who trust me with your health care and your wellness needs, I'm grateful. This month is the month of May, my birthday month. I'm celebrating a big birthday on Saturday, and I'm just grateful. I've been doing all things that I love. And one of the things is definitely taking care of my mental health during this season of life. And I'm just grateful. May is National Military Appreciation Month, as well as many other things, but we've really been focusing and highlighting mental health. And so, mental health is definitely a part of something that I take care of and that I manage for my patients. When I'm looking at things from a holistic standpoint, mental health is one of those pieces of the puzzle that make up each and every person. And so, I'm grateful. So, if you're in need of a primary care provider, if you're needing health and wellness coaching or assistant with medical weight loss, things of that nature, give us a call. We can be reached at 321-306-6755. Our website is wellslegacyhealth.com. You can also find us on all of the social sites and like, subscribe, share the content. We also have our very own YouTube channel. And so if you have not gone and liked and subscribed the channel, please do so and sign up for notifications on when we're going live and new content is posted. We're going to move into our topic tonight. Tonight, as I mentioned, it is National Military Appreciation Month, and we're going to be discussing mental health in the military community. And one of the things I want to do is highlight to honor the strength, the sacrifice, and the service of active duty military personnel, the veterans, reservists, military families, and those preparing to serve, while bringing awareness to the very real mental health challenges many face silently. And so tonight, I want those individuals to know that they are not alone, that they don't have to suffer in silence. And so I'm just grateful that I have this opportunity to bring this awareness to honor these individuals. I am someone who personally knows individuals who have served and are currently serving. I have family members who have served. My husband was in the Navy. And so I want to just honor those men and women who serve our country and who dedicate their life, who sacrifice holidays and birthdays and sleep and comfort and stability and sometimes even pieces of themselves in service of others. And so during National Military Appreciation Month, we want to recognize not only their service, but their humanity, because behind every uniform is a person and they have family, and this person may be carrying stress and trauma and anxiety and fear and exhaustion or emotional wounds that nobody can see. And one of the things that I learned early in my nursing and healthcare career is that there are many disabilities that we can't see. And just because you see a person and they look fine, that they're okay. There are many diseases, many disorders, many conditions that don't have physical manifestations or things that you can't see from a physical standpoint. And so let's just remember to give each other grace. And as we move into tonight's talk, I just want to pause for a moment and hold space for these individuals and their families. Considering where we are in our nation today, there's an active war going on. And so my thoughts and prayers are with those individuals who have lost their lives, those who are serving, those who have been injured, those who are early in their military career, getting ready to be, deployed to their different duty stations. We honor you tonight, and I'm grateful for you. And I want you to know that You do not have to suffer in silence. And this is just not for those that are serving, the service members. This is for veterans. These are for the military spouses and their families and the future recruits, that you do not have to suffer in silence and you're not by yourself. It's so important that we take time to honor those who have made the decision to dedicate their life to service. And so the active duty members, the veterans, the National Guard and reservists, military spouses, as I mentioned, and family, and those that are preparing to go into military service. Your sacrifice matters, your service matters, and your life matters. There are different branches of the military, and so we want to highlight those branches tonight. And then we'll talk about some of the statistics that come along with those different branches. We have the United States Army. I'm a Navy family. My husband was in Navy, Air Force, the Marine Corps, the Coast Guard, and the Space Force. As of 2025, the United States has approximately 1.3 million active duty military personnel and over 2 million total military members, including reserve forces. Approximate active duty members by branch include the Army, over 445,000 individuals. When we look at the Navy, over 330,000 individuals. Air Force has about 313,000 individuals in active service currently, or as of 2025. And I'm sure those numbers have increased by now. Marine Corps is about 168,000. Coast Guard is 40,000. And the Space Force is nearly 10,000. Military life comes with unique emotional and psychological demands. And so we're going to talk about those stressors, the stressors of deployment, combat exposure. I want to back up to deployment. I can remember when my sister went into the Navy and her deployment, her having to leave to go to basic training and having to leave my nephew behind. That was hard. It was difficult because he was little. He didn't necessarily understand the whole reason and rationale behind that. And I see a lot of families who one of the spouses or both decide to go into military, and for a specific period of time, those families can be, separated. Having your sister, your brother, your husband, your spouse, your father, what have you, your mother leave and go away can be challenging. And then the deployment, being sent to different areas within the world, millions of miles and many, many miles away from your family. Currently, my sister is over in Germany and we don't get to see each other often. And so I've gotten used to it over time, but it still is hard whenever she has to leave and go back. And then the stressors of combat exposure. Right now, we are in active war and combat and all of the things that are happening. And again, the separation from family, constantly relocating. I know my niece and nephews, once my sister got established and settled and they were able to come to her, they would move every so many years because her duty station changed. And so high pressure environments and hyper vigilant, having to always be vigilant and literally like have your head on a swivel because you don't really know what's going to happen, and having to shift and pivot at a minute's notice, a second notice, and is so impactful when it comes to stress and loss of fellow service members and transitioning back to civilian life. We have a friend who just recently got out of the military, and I can see that the transition is difficult for him. And so my sister is winding down her time of being in the military, and we've had conversations about transition back into military, transition back into civilian life. And I just can imagine the impact that has on their mental health and the stressors that brings. And then fear of appearing weak. I do work with veterans, and being able to understand the population that you're dealing with is so important, and difficulty asking for help. I did some coursework and some training on veterans for an assignment or for a partnership that I will be entering into with Wells Legacy Health and Wellness. And just it helped me to gain better understanding of this community and the impact that the sacrifice is having on them. And so it's not just physical, but it's also mental as well. And then some more statistics that I want to talk about is from 2020 to 2024, more than 560 active duty service members were diagnosed with at least one mental health disorder. Research shows that approximately 30% of combat veterans experience mental health challenges such as PTSD, depression, and anxiety. Veteran suicide rate continue to remain higher than the civilian population. And I have an uncle, and I'm not going to go into detail just because I want to be sensitive to my cousins, but he served in the military, and I can just remember being a little girl experiencing some of the mental health challenges that he experienced. And so it's hard, it's really hard. And we don't know a fraction of what he dealt with in the military, and he was combat. So I'm sure he saw some things and he experienced some things, and coming back into civilian life was a challenge, I'm sure. PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. We've heard much about that, but it's viewed differently in different communities. And when we talk about the military community, PTSD can be seen as a sign of weakness, but I'm here to debunk that. That is incorrect. PTSD is not weakness. It is the body and mind responding to trauma. And I read this book, and I'm sure I've shared this before, is that there's a book, it's called The Body Keeps the Score. And if I'm not mistaken, the one that I read was a partnership with Oprah Winfrey, or I may be mixing up the two books, but The Body Keeps the Score. If you have not read it or listened to it on Audible, I listened to it on Audible when I would be when I would have long drives, and it was such an eye-opening book that helped me to look at individuals from a different perspective and to look at myself from a different perspective, and how the traumas that I experienced as a child and a teenager and as an adult, a young adult, even as an adult, how it impacts me and how our bodies and our cells hold on to that. And so some of the symptoms of PTSD may include nightmares, hypervigilance, where they are always on guard. They're always watching out. They don't feel like they can ever just relax. Flashbacks, I can remember experiencing those through the experience of my uncle. Emotional numbness, irritability, and then avoidance behaviors. They don't want to do anything that will trigger the memory of whatever it was that occurred. Then we have anxiety. We hear a lot about anxiety now, right? Anxiety in and of itself is excessive worry. It could include panic attacks, restlessness, difficulty relaxing. And then we have depression. So depression comes with signs and symptoms of emotional withdrawal. These individuals are emotionally not available. They have hopelessness. There's some fatigue. There may be some lack of motivation, feeling disconnected. And there's many different levels of depression. And so when you go to your healthcare provider, one of the things that should be done is a PHQ-2, which is a mental health screening where there's 2 questions that are asked. And based on the responses to those 2 questions, we may do a more extensive screening, one for anxiety and then another one for depression. And so it's important that we are honest with our healthcare providers and that we're honest with ourselves with where we are mentally, because ultimately we're here to help. So when it comes to burnout and emotional exhaustion, many service members continue functioning while emotionally overwhelmed. I haven't served in the military, but I can definitely say that as a healthcare provider, there's many times where I kept going when I was emotionally overwhelmed, because I felt like my patients and their families and my clients needed me, and they needed me to show up. Substance use disorder. We see a high increase in substance use disorder in the military community, and some individuals turn to alcohol and prescription medication, especially if they've had an injury or had to have surgery, and were placed on prescription medication. And then drugs are used as a coping mechanism. Sleep disorder, insomnia, poor sleep quality, inability to fall asleep, difficulty staying asleep, chronic fatigue because you're not sleeping. If you think about it, if you are having these symptoms, but yet you're expected to continue showing up and you continue to show up, you can only do that for so long, right? And I've never been in the military. I don't think I would ever make it in the military because one, my mouth probably get me kicked out. And my attitude sometimes maybe, we're not gonna speak on that. But it takes a level of mental toughness and strength to be in the military. I mean, I've only seen it on the TV and in movies, people in your face yelling at you. And I'm just kind of speaking on what I see from what I've seen. I don't have any personal experience and I haven't talked to, my husband has shared a little bit with me about his experience, but it takes a special person to go into the military. One, it takes a person who is selfless because they're giving of themselves and they are sacrificing their time with their family, their friends, and their freedom to do certain things. Like when I talk with my sister, and I'm not going to go into a lot of details, but there's just certain things that she can't do because she's military. There's certain countries that she can't travel to because she's military. And she is major. She's a major in the military. And so she's one of the higher ranking individuals in the military. And we just had a conversation and she was like, they just own me. They own me. And I was like, wow, I never thought of it that way. But kudos to you, Sissy. I'm so grateful for you and I'm so happy for you. And I'm excited about the next few years as you prepare to transition out. And that leads me into my next topic in terms of transitioning out of the military. One of the most emotionally difficult periods in many service members is transitioning out of military life. My sister and I have talked about this. And one of the things that she said was, I don't know what I'm going to do, Sissy. This has been my life for almost 25 years. And I can just imagine that because I just went through a major transition. I haven't really spoken a lot about it, but be on the lookout. I have some story times coming about transition that has happened in my life. But yesterday would have been my 14th work anniversary with a company that I was with for almost 14 years. And my position was eliminated in February, and my last day with them was March 5th. And I'm struggling with routine because I had a routine for the past 14 years. Monday through Friday, I had my routine. I would do certain things on Mondays and, Fridays was this meeting day and Wednesday and Thursday I had this, committee meeting and I would be out in the field with my providers doing ride-alongs. And on this day, I would have my meetings with my team. And so adjusting to routine, and I'm not anywhere comparing my routine to the one that individuals who are transitioning out of military experience. But if it's anything close to what I have experienced, it's difficult. It's definitely difficult, but I can imagine there is this on a higher spectrum and magnified, right? So there's a loss of identity, right? They struggle with identity for 30 years. If they serve for 30 years, or as my sister, 25 years, she was this high ranking official in the military, or she currently is. But as she begins to transition out, she no longer has that responsibility. Yes, she'll retire with that title or even a higher title when she prepares to retire, but there's a loss of identity. Many times we are connected to our work. And so when work is no longer there, like in my situation, when that position is no longer there, there can be a struggle when it comes to our identity and difficulty adjusting to civilian life. Isolation, they definitely feel isolated. Loss of structure and community, employment stress. I've seen individuals who have transitioned out of the military and have issues gaining employment. And then relationship challenges. But one of the good things that I learned from my sister is that there is help for individuals. And so if they start that process maybe a couple years before they're ready to transition out, then they are able to utilize those resources to help them and help make their transition smoother. Important statistics that I want to talk about. The risk of suicide is especially elevated during the first year after separation from the military and from military service. That is important to note, and to note that we have to make sure that we're supporting these individuals. Sometimes people leave the military, but mentally and emotionally, the military never fully leaves them. It's a lifestyle, it's a way of life for these individuals. And so it's important that we support them. And so, how can family and friends help? How can we help? How can the neighbors help? How can we as a community help? Don't just ask, how are you? Create a space for honest answers. Learn the warning signs, watch for the isolation, right? And for those individuals who family members are abroad and we don't see them often, it might be difficult for us to pick up on those clues. That's why it's so important that we stay connected while they're gone. And one of the things my sister and I is we try and make it a point that we talk maybe a couple of times a week. And sometimes some weeks we're both busy and we don't get a chance to do that. But we get on Messenger and it's a video call so that I can see her, she can see me. We can look into each other's eyes. We can, hey, what's wrong? What's up? And we have this special bond that we just kind of know when there's something going on with each other. And so because we have that connection, I know when something's not right when I see her. The moment her face flashes on that screen, I know, and vice versa. So having that relationship and that connection definitely helps. But I get it. That's not always realistic, or that's not always a possibility because of certain dynamics and things of that nature. But mood changes, anger, and sleep problems. Listen, if someone is not sleeping, their mental health and their overall health is impacted. Increase in alcohol use, and talking about hopelessness. I had a patient, actually, I saw the whole family, and the husband had just transitioned out of the military. And I was able to talk to his wife, and the kids had conversations when they came for their appointments on what that transition was going to look like and how to prepare for that. And so one of the things that we talked about was staying connected, making sure that they're calling, making sure that they're checking in with him while he was away. And that's one of the things that I'm doing now, so that when my sister come home, she's not a stranger because I know her. We're connecting. Making sure you're checking in on that friend or family member who or neighbor who has recently come out of the military. Make sure you invite them out into different things and listen without judgment. There are some things that I'm curious about when it comes to my sister and everything that she experienced, but I dare not ask specific questions because I don't want her to have to relive that. And now if she wants to share certain things with me, of course, I'm sure in time she will. But then there's some things I'm sure that she'll never share with me because it was classified information. And I'm okay with that. And I won't press the issue about that. And when should we seek help? And just understanding that seeking help is not weakness, it is strength. It is a sign of strength when someone reaches out for help and when they go to get help. And what is my role as a primary care provider? I play, and primary care providers play an incredibly important role in supporting mental health. And at practices like mine, Wells Legacy Health and Wellness, primary care providers such as myself and health and wellness providers can one screen for depression and anxiety. We talked about that a little earlier. And then be able to recognize the symptoms of PTSD, address the sleep issues, monitor stress-related physical conditions. Stress can show up in different ways in your body, and coordinate mental health referrals. I know when I've reached the end of what I can do and provide for a patient, or when a condition is outside of my wheelhouse or my expertise, I don't mind collaborating and sharing with another healthcare provider to ensure that my patients and clients get what they need, and then provide ongoing support and education. And that's one of the things that I do a lot of, is educating and providing support. And so it's important that we have that conversation, right? Many people first discuss mental health concerns with their primary care providers. So it's important that we have those conversations. I know for me, when I needed to seek mental health support, I had that conversation with my primary care provider first, and she connected me with life stance, and I was able to get a therapist and, see the psychiatrist to help me work through the depression and grief that I was dealing with after the death of my grandmother. Medications were prescribed, therapies were prescribed, and it definitely helped. And that conversation can change and even save someone's life. So I say this to say, make sure that you're having those conversations and making sure that we're speaking slowly and intentional. And so I want you to know that you are, as healthcare providers, we have to make sure that we slow down and that we're intentional about the conversation, right? So as we prepare to close, to every active duty member, every veteran, every military spouse, every future recruit, you are appreciated beyond words. Your pain is valid. Your experiences are valid and they matter. And asking for help does not make you weak. I want you to know that asking for help does not make you weak. You spent so much of your time protecting others, and you deserve to be protected and supported. And so I want to talk about a few resources just for a moment before we end. The Veterans Crisis Line is 988, and you're going to press 1. Military One Source is a place of support. And then the VA mental health services and the vet centers are definitely a source of support. Licensed mental health professionals, your primary care providers can help. It's important that if you or someone is in emotional crisis, please seek immediate help. You are not alone. I want you to know that you are not alone. And the things that we can do to support our military community are so important. So let's take time to honor them. Let's take time to pour into them. And let's take time to make sure that we are supporting them and that we're listening to them. And so I want to ask if there's anyone here that's military, veteran, current service member, and you need help or assistance, please reach out. Please reach out, because it's so important that we do so and provide support. So as we close out, I just want to say thank you all so much for joining me tonight for another episode of Wellness Wednesday. It's been a pleasure. I appreciate you. We honor you, and we make space for you. And we celebrate you, all of the military service personnel, their family, whether you're active duty, reservist, if you are transitioned out already, a veteran, or if you are in the process of transitioning. We're here for you, and we want to support you and let you know that you matter, your service matters, and we are so grateful for you. This has been another episode of Wellness Wednesday with Dr. Latoya Wells. Stay safe and be well. Until next time, we'll see you later.